we're doing the Game Week 13 review and Match Day 14 has already started. But let's rock with it. Welcome back to the woodwork. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So a bit of a weird schedule here, but we're going to do the Premier League Game Week 13 review. So the games that happened last weekend. I'm going to do a review of the midweek games. That video will be coming out on Friday. That'll be Premier League Match Day 14 review. But let's do Premier League Game Week 13 review, starting at Anfield in the biggest game of the season, I think. A lot of people would say it is, and I believe it was, which finished Liverpool 2, Manchester City 0. A lot of people were thinking, you know what, Man City, they've not won in 6. Liverpool could crumble and Man City could get the win and it will, spice the title race up a bit. But I think Liverpool have now done it. It was very fully deserved, professionally done. I think they'll win the league now. I don't think much stands in their way. They're 9 points clear. They have to struggle a lot, with Arsenal and Chelsea behind them, 9 points behind them. They've got a lot of ground to make up with no games in hand. I think Liverpool will be fine, and I think they'll win the Premier League. That's my point for Liverpool. And now for Manchester City, it's turned into no wins in 7 games in all competitions. In that time, they were 3-0 up against Feyenoord, lost that, been knocked out the Carabao Cup to Tottenham, who right now are doing very, very Spursy things. Lost 4-1, wasn't it, against Sporting. This doesn't look great, does it? And again at Anfield, they look second best all game, and they're now 5th in the league, which I think is the lowest they've been at this stage of the season for ages. I didn't think they'd have this much of a drop-off. I mean, then again, they have got Palace on Saturday at Selhurst Park, so I think they'll be fine. Next up, an absolutely mental game at the London Stadium. It's weird because the last review I did of Premier League, West Ham were last, and now it's an absolute goal fest. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Now, my point for West Ham, look, I think Lopetegui has to go. Obviously, they've already played their Matchday 14 game because it's Wednesday. They played on the Tuesday night where they lost 3-1 away at Leicester. That was an unacceptable performance. And to let 5 goals in, against Arsenal in the first half, I know it's Arsenal, but it's still not good enough considering they're at home. I just think Lopetegui has to go. I can't believe the board are sort of split in this decision. For Arsenal, I think they won the game in style. They scored 5 goals in the first half. They could have crumbled after conceding 2 from Wan-Bissaka and then Emerson, the right back and left back respectively. And they're level on points, goal difference, disability record with Chelsea. So they're second on alphabetical order. Mental. Next up, we go to Old Trafford in Ruben Amorim's first Premier League win as Manchester United manager. Manchester United 4, Everton 0. My point for Manchester United, I've just already said it, Amorim's first Premier League win, and it's a massive one. And it's a weird one saying this, but puts Manchester United into the top half. That's massive for them. Obviously it was a bit embarrassing seeing them in the bottom half at this stage of the season. So for Ruben Amorim to get Manchester United back into the top half is brilliant. Whether they'll stay there, considering they've got to play Arsenal tonight, we will see, and I'll cover that on Friday's video. But yeah, good win for United all round. For Everton, it's a weird one. Is Sean Dyche under pressure? I've watched Everton a few times this season, and they've not looked great. They've got Wolves tonight at home. That's a massive game for their, relegation fight and what have you with Everton. But December's when you know really where you're going to be about. And, you'd think that it's their last season at Goodison Park. I know this game wasn't at Goodison Park, but still, they want to do well this season and they're really not. And I've spoken to a few Everton fans and they're not happy with Sean Dyche. I feel like just like Lopetegui, more questions need to be asked. Next up, we go back to the capital. Chelsea 3, Aston Villa 0. Chelsea's point, Cole Palmer. What a player, he's just, he's a really, really good player for Chelsea. And I think this proves so far for Chelsea this season how good the Conference League has been for them, because obviously they have not played the most advanced teams. And it always helps when you spent £1 billion on your squad depth. It's just untold, and there's a reason why Chelsea are basically second, they're third. It's just alphabetical order separating them and Arsenal, and it's in their favour. They've got Southampton away, Chelsea tonight, and Arsenal have got Manchester United, which is a little bit tougher, I would say. But yeah, the Conference League's been great for Chelsea, and just my point for Chelsea, Cole Palmer. Brilliant goal to make it 3-0. Let's get on to Villa's point. My point for Villa's quite interesting. Is their season a bit underwhelming so far? Has it been underwhelming? You know, they got knocked out the Carabao Cup by Palace. Couldn't help but mention that. They're 12th in the league. Their performances of late haven't been great. Their away form's concerning. And, you know, they're trying to stay in the race to qualify in the Champions League without having to go through a knockout stage. You know, I knew Champions League would take its toll on Villa, but I didn't think they would be 12th in the league right now. You know, a little bit concerning for Unai Emery's men, but they've got a good opportunity to turn that around at home against Brentford tonight as well. So I'll be looking at that, definitely. The next two fixtures are two absolute goal fests. We're going to start with the one with the most goals. Full-time Molineux, Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4. Could not believe this scoreline when I saw it after I went to the Palace game on Saturday. For Wolves, the main talking point is Gary O'Neill, isn't it? Is it time for him to go? Wolves just simply can't defend. You know, start of the season, they had the problem with putting the ball in the back of the net. Now they don't seem to have that issue, but it's defending. And I know, obviously, Bournemouth have a good attack, and they did set records with Kluivert getting a first hat-trick of penalties and Evan Nilsson winning a penalty 3 times in a match. So they've broken 2 Premier League records in one game. So that's impressive for Bournemouth. That's the point there. But going back to Wolves, it's concerning. And do you think they get relegated? Let me know in the comments. And now the 5-goal thriller. Brentford 4, Leicester 1. Now, for Brentford, it's gone under my radar that they are 8th in the Premier League right now. How is that possible? And this is my point. The G-Tech, yes, the stadium named after a Hoover, is a fortress. You know, they're one of the most informed teams at home in the Premier League this season, and that's why they are currently 8th in the Premier League. I know it's got nothing to do with the game, but I do want to stress the point that I give Brentford a lot of credit for making the junior tickets £10, and then for any junior travelling fans, whether that be a Man City fan or they've got Plymouth in the FA Cup, you know, that's a £10 for a young Plymouth fan as well. You know, we've seen a lot of protests with tickets. You've had Manchester United, Liverpool fans. I think West Ham do the same thing as well, been protesting about their ticket prices. And for Brentford, they've lowered it. So I give them full credit that they can do that. Gone a bit off topic there. So going back to the game with Leicester's point now. Bit disappointing how they took the lead. But will they go down? Bit pointless this point, because obviously they did beat West Ham yesterday and they did look impressive. So I'm going to make my point for Leicester. You know, disappointing finish to the game, how they went 1-0 up, apparently against the run of play through Buonanotte. But yeah, it was always an expected one for Leicester, I think. Maybe to not lose by such a margin at Brentford, but there you go. On to the last 4 games, and 3 of them are 1-1 draws. We're going to start in North London. Spurs 1, Fulham 1. Now, my Tottenham point is Spurs being Spursy. What's new? Like, they lost to Palace. Again, couldn't help but mention that. Lost to Ipswich. But then they go and beat Man City in the Carabao Cup, and more surprisingly, 4-0 at the Etihad. You know, and then they draw at home to Fulham. Like, it's just Tottenham being Tottenham. I can't make any other points, really, with that one. For Fulham, I think it's a massive point for Fulham. You know, for them to go down to 10 men with 10 minutes to go through captain Tom Cairney. I'm not being funny, I forgot that man was still playing for Fulham. But yeah, good point for Fulham to keep them just about in the top half before their game at home to Brighton on tomorrow night now, on Thursday night. And talking of Brighton, we go to their game, which seems like it happened a long time ago. Full time at the Amex, Brighton 1, Southampton 1. Of course, it's a 1-1 draw again. And for Brighton, 2 points dropped. I think is the point I'm going to make. Considering they're against Southampton, who, just like Wolves, simply can't defend. You know, they dropped 2 points at home to Wolves, and then they dropped 2 points at home to Southampton. But they're in the top 4. That's something I can't get my head round. But they do annually lose at Craven Cottage. So as a Palace fan, to be honest, I'm hoping for it. But we'll see on that front. Southampton's point, should that goal from Adam Armstrong have stood? I mean, rules are rules, you know, as stupid as they are. You know, there is a bit of interference with play, and as much as I don't think it really matters that the keeper's not going to get there and stuff like that, rules are rule, and if it helps Palace out, I'll take it. The other 1-1 draw obviously leaves Palace full-time at Selhurst Park. Palace won, Newcastle won, and I was going to make the point about, you know, Palace in the relegation fight and stuff, but we did win 1-0 against Ipswich last night, so I'll put that in Friday's video. Can't wait to talk about that, obviously. But I want to talk about, if at first you don't succeed, Daniel Munoz. You know, he had the miss of an open goal, which I got a great angle of, by the way. Have a look at this. Then he went from that to scoring the last-minute equaliser. Fair play, Daniel. I want to talk about Newcastle more from that game. You know, they've not scored a goal in 166 minutes of football, which equates to basically almost 2 matches. And they had 0.02 XG in the whole game and still scored. That just showed how poor Palace were defensively in that game, to be fair. If a team's got 0.02 XG. People say XG don't matter. To me, I think it does. And the fact that they were lucky to sneak a point when they nearly had all 3 is saying something. And finally, George is going to kill me for putting them last, but I'm going to do it as it was only 1-0. Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich Town 0. Now, my point for Forest is that they can go second if they beat Manchester City tonight. Possibly. Depending on the results, I know. But they'll go into the top 4 if they win tonight at the Etihad, which isn't beyond all possibilities, seeing how Man City have been playing this season so far in the last 6-7 games. How is that possible? Brilliant from Chris Wood, that penalty to ram it into the roof of the net. And yeah, just a good performance overall, again, at home from Nottingham Forest. A point for Ipswich, I just think they're not good enough for the Premier League. I think it's going to be hard for Ipswich, I really do. You know, like, I think they will probably go down. They didn't create too many chances. Obviously, there was the clearance from Aina off the line and there's miscommunication. But it sounds weird what I'm going to say because their only win of the season has come away from home. But they need the points in the home games. But as proven last night against a Palace team that are struggling and they didn't get it, you know, I think danger is pretty much looming for Ipswich Town and they need to start picking up points soon. Otherwise, they will find themselves in quite a bit of danger, and I don't want it to be the case. You know, I don't want the 3 teams that come up to go straight back down because you're just going to create a boring system every time where the gap between the Premier League teams and the Championship is just going to get bigger and bigger and you're not going to see any new teams. Hence why Luton didn't stay up last season. Now you've got Ipswich coming back for the first time in 22 years. They're probably not going to stay up. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, guys, that is the end of the video. Like, share, subscribe to The Woodwork. You can follow my socials and see the Palace vlog against Newcastle with that clip that I've shown in it on my YouTube channel, Palace by Mason. Link will be in the description below. You know, I'm sorry about the timing of this video because, you know, you've got the Premier League match day 14 has already begun and the game week 13 seems like a long time ago. But the video on Friday will be more in time. And yeah, I'll be covering in that video the 2 games from last night. So Palace beating Ipswich and Leicester beating West Ham. There's 6 games tonight and then the games tomorrow night being Fulham, Brighton and Bournemouth against Spurs as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe to The Woodwork and I'll see you guys very, very soon.